like to do.
Good evening and welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm your host, Joshua Solomon, and with me as always is the Honorable J.P. Marzullo. How you doing, J.P.?
I'm doing okay. Yeah.
It's cooled off a little bit.
Yeah, it has. But
it was a good weekend.
It's coming back, though.
It was a good weekend with no rain, so I was out on a motorcycle all weekend, covered most of the state. So,
nice. Yeah, I saw your post.
It's a great state for motorcycling. You know, sometimes we think about the idea of being seasonals and going down to Florida for a while.
Key West or something.
Yeah, and the big problem I have with moving out of New Hampshire is that every other place that I like to vacation, beaches and whatnot, there's no motorcycle country.
No,
right? You can't. You're either in stop and go traffic, or they don't have the mountains and the trees. We just have such great motorcycle country here. So I just there's my shameless plug for my home state.
And I know because Route 1, I won't even tell you the route. I shouldn't have done that. Is pretty windy, and motorcycle is like that road, and they make a lot of noise sometimes. And and
but you don't want them on your road.
The dog goes nuts. Yeah, and it's having grown up with sports cars all my life, I would use that road for the same thing. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Years ago, I don't know if it's still true, but years ago, I read a statistic and I saw that New Hampshire is like second or third, or maybe even first, or at least it was at that point, per capita motorcycle owners.
Really?
Yeah, like we got a lot of motorcycle owners in New Hampshire. That's why we see so many of them. So, anyway, today's guest is Scott Maltzy. How you doing, Scott?
I'm great.
How you doing?
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So thanks for introducing him, because he sent me, a way to say his name, and all I could think was malt, like malt you drink. So I let you do it.
You let me do the pronunciation, and
that's fair.
Hopefully not screw it up. So. Did I screw it up?
No.
Okay. All right.
So why don't you start telling the viewers exactly what it means when you're head of all of these committees and what you're doing, and then we can go from there if you'd like. But it'd be nice to let them know.
We can either list all the committees one by one, or we can just list them all at once, or we'll start at one and tell us about that one and go right down the list.
Well,
what do you want to do?
Well, we can talk about Merrimack County, which is what I'm chair of, and
how many years have you been chair there?
Oh gosh, around 6. There was a little hiatus in the middle there, but about 6-7 years now. So
wow.
So I'm actually, I think Andrew Georgievitz from Concord is the second longest chair. I think,
really?
Or the longest. I think I'm second.
Oh my God! I didn't know Georgievitz was that long.
Yeah, he doesn't look it, but so Merrimack County, 26 cities and towns, and we have Franklin and Concord. Concord has its own committee that Andrew runs, but I handle the other 26 towns, and Franklin the only city in there. We have, goes from the southern of Hooksett all the way up to Hill and New London.
Wow.
And then on the western part you have Warner and Webster and Bow and Hopkinton and places like that. And then on the east we have Epsom, Pittsfield. Wow. So it's the third largest county. We're kind of the poor cousins to Rockingham and Hillsborough, but we have a lot. But we're an important county because I always say if you're running for statewide office, the path to victory goes through Merrimack County because we are such a swing
everything goes
county.
Through Merrimack County.
Well, 93, 89.
You can't get from north to south without going through it.
Exactly. And if the western part of our county is a little more moderate, so New London, Warner, that area, in Bradford, a little more moderate, Bow now. And on the eastern part, we're pretty solid red on the eastern part from Hooksett all the way up.
Yeah.
And then Concord. Concord's Concord.
It's its own anomaly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But my town of Boscawen is the swing town within the swing county. So we kind of pretty even in terms of registered voters, Republicans and Democrats. We still are a little underwater county-wide. in spite of recent migration. But Concord, again, is a lot to overcome. So
Yeah, it always has been,
Yeah.
really. The only one I know that's won there more than once was Lynn Blankenbecker.
yeah.
You know, it's very hard, as you said, to
Well,
do anything there.
I mean, well, we did really well this last election. We have our Register of Deeds is Samantha Morse,
Oh.
and she's a solid Republican doing a great job eliminating fees and doing some things that the voters really were interested in having done. Paul Halverson's been our county attorney for,
that's cool.
I think, 6 years now, and he does
Yeah,
a
he's
great
good.
job.
Yep.
Sheriff, we've kind of gone back and forth on, but and our treasurer, Mary Heath, is a Republican, and she's been in that position 4 years now. So we are starting to make inroads. I ran for Register of Probate, which is the perfect position to run for if you're county chair and working, because you don't have to do anything, which is just my favorite
I was just
position.
going to ask you about
But
that.
you can't say that out loud while you're running.
Well,
I'm running because
well,
there's nothing to do once I get there.
It was funny because you all know Alan Glassman, and Alan's
sure.
been Register of Probate in Belknap for
Yeah.
years.
Yes.
And he, part of the thing he was doing in this last election was trying to get that position restored to a more reasonable position where there's a salary and
Yeah.
and able to do that. And then we also had to fend off that constitutional amendment. And I mean, to me, I know some people are like, oh, it's Register of Probate, but it's actually, I mean, I lost my dad a year ago. And having to go through that process, it's
Yeah.
not easy. You think about an older person who's maybe grieving, who's, you know, trying to find paperwork and everything, and
Yep.
then, well, go log in on a computer, type in all this information. A lot of it's legal type stuff.
Right.
that-
Sure, it's template
Do you
stuff.
click on this button or this button? I don't know.
Well, that's-
and then you call them and they're like, well, I can't give you legal advice. Well, you're not giving me legal advice. You're just telling me, do I click on this or this?
Right.
Well, that's legal advice. I can't tell you that. And then you go and hire a lawyer at $300 an hour for something you really could do yourself.
Sure.
But so I think just having a little more customer service there, especially when you think about who's using those services. They tend to be older folks and
Right.
that aren't as necessarily computer
That's really the
savvy.
downside to technology, right? You know, we want to move everything into and computerize everything, go paper free, and all of that business. But then, like you said, you've got this aging population that we're forcing to use this technology, and you've got folks who don't know how to use computers. They didn't grow up with this, right? Whereas the 30 and 40 somethings that are running the show, right? The folks that are my age or younger are running the government. We grew up with all of this technology, and it's easy. It's second nature. So when I pick up the phone and I say, well, get on your computer and go to this website and do this, that is second nature for anybody under the age of 50. Right, but then you've got an aging population, the kind of folks that are going to need probate, and you're hanging them out to dry with technology without this assistance. So
And-
it's
yeah.
moving a bit too fast for our aging population.
Yeah, I can agree with you there because I can never remember passwords, as you well know. And he tries to walk me through. That was the analogy he was making to me. Yeah, just go to this little thing on the
I
right.
wasn't.
and
I
where
wasn't
is it?
calling
Where
you
is it?
out, JP. I was being very polite.
No, you were, but you're right.
I wasn't calling you out.
But-
I'm in general, that's the case. You know, with my father and my aging folks in my family, I have to stop and think, okay, this is not something that they do every day.
Right.
I write software for a living. I sit on that computer all day
Absolutely.
doing things that even regular people won't be doing,
Yep.
don't know how to do, right?
Yep.
And so something like that is easy. I was just kind of making that mental note that having government move into the future is a good thing, but at the same time, it's moving at a pace that it's hurting some older folks.
Well,
and I think that's what you were getting at,
yeah.
is making the probate system a little more user-friendly.
Well, exactly. I mean, I got a piece of paper that said, all right, you're appointed executor now. I'm like, okay, so
What do I do?
I know what that means.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have a PhD. I understand these things, but legally, I'm not familiar with that law. So does that
Right.
mean I can dispose of all the stuff that I don't want? Does that mean I can start closing accounts? What do you have to do? And you ask them, it's like, well, can I clean out the store and lock? And he's like, She's like, I can't give you legal advice. I'm like, this isn't legal advice. I'm like, what can I do? And they give you a booklet, I mean, and that. But I mean, to the point about the older folks too, when it comes to computers, my father-in-law used to drive me nuts. He'd call me up and say, Scott, walk me through whatever. And the challenge he had that you don't really think about is that computers and the screens you're looking at are not static, especially in this kind of web-based interface. You might go on a web page today and it looks totally different tomorrow.
Or
and how do you, and if you're used to opening up the IKEA directions and trying to figure it out, but it stays the same every time, that's a very, very challenging world. And for our kids, the youngest generation, they have a different problem. They're pretty tech savvy, but they can't critically think to save their lives.
Exactly.
So they are in kind of the same boat, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally lost it.
I'm sure it was a good thought.
Do you want a password?
I pass.
But anyway, so Merrimack County, we have, I think, 44 seats between us and Concord. I think 32 in Merrimack County alone. We have a pretty good representation again from kind of Central East.
Yeah.
We picked up, I think, a few seats this last time. We picked up 8 the time before that. Redistricting hurt us a little bit because, you know, those seats like in Bow that we had a chance at, it's just a lot harder now. So,
yeah.
But again, if you want to do well as a statewide race, you got to do well in Concord. You got to do well throughout the county.
So does chairman of the Merrimack Committee, does that keep you busy? Are you meeting weekly, twice a weekly? What's
we
going
meet
on?
as a committee. We meet once a month. There's 40 full members of the committee, and when you're on a county committee, you end up also on the state committee by virtue of that.
Right.
We also have about 15 associate members, and those associate members get voting rights, but they're not state committee members. A lot of those are people from Concord who just like coming to meetings, and they're older folks and they're retired, and they come to mine on Wednesday, they go to Andrews on Thursday. So, but they get voting rights, and we spend a lot of our time in the summer. We're at Old Home Days. We go to about a dozen of those.
Fairs.
The only one we have is really the Hopkinton Fair.
Right.
We did that last year. I don't know that we're going to this year in the off-year election. We have the Balloon Festival up in Pittsfield. So we do have some big events, and we try to get out and talk to people and talk to voters. We support Concord with their market days, so a lot of our folks will help staff their booths. And I mean, so we meet once a month. We talk. Usually, I'll bring a speaker in. Either it'll be a candidate, or it will be some issue or some training that we want to do to help them be more effective. I mean, our mission at the end of the day is to elect Republicans at the local, county, state, and national level, and contribute to that effort.
Do you help recruit and train candidates in the towns that you cover, and is that part of?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of what we do. Not so much the training, but certainly the recruitment, helping, assisting, guiding. People don't realize, and we're starting to get into that recruiting phase now for the House.
Yeah.
We have to find 400 people.
Right.
And I mean, it's a monumental effort, and thousands of man-hours go into calling people, encouraging, what do you got to do? It just kind of helping people see their way clear to be able to do that. And people are like, well, we'll just find 400. No, it's a lot. And so even now we're, a year away from the filing period. We're a year and a half away from the election. But I'm already contacting our existing reps, trying to determine who's running, who's not.
Yeah, and a lot of reps will wait to the last minute.
Well, and we can't, and that gives you no time to recruit.
Right.
And I certainly encourage them and any of your viewers that are reps. I mean, we got to find somebody to, if you're not going to run,
you got to replace it.
You got to help us find somebody to do that.
You almost kind of sort of have to recruit people for positions even though they haven't made their decision, the incumbent hasn't made a decision to run on it. You almost have to do that because,
like a backup.
at the end, because at the end of this year, we're going to be starting next year's session, right? And who knows what happens? I mean, scandals happen. People. Family emergencies happen, so it might be right at the last minute that an incumbent who was all in for running again says no, right?
Yes.
So you almost have to have 400 people on the back burner just in case anyway.
And some committees do it better than others. Scott does a great job with his people, and they do a great job getting people to run. But again, we want 400 names. And that's not the easiest thing to do. And you're right. You need a backup in some ways.
And we have the largest legislature in the country, right? If you go to other states, you're talking 25, 50.
Right.
Maybe some of the states are pushing 100 reps. But that's not the case here, right? No. And if we had a legislature that was pared down and that small and let's say comparable in size to another state the same size as New Hampshire, right. If we had that many, it would be much easier to recruit.
I think recruiting is tough anyway. It's bad enough you have to get 400, but it takes a special approach to getting these people involved.
Well, you think about the constraints we put on people running for our legislature, yes. Right? So it's not like the old days where you had a biennial session. You're now obligated for both years.
Yep.
You're basically booked from January, if not before, up till June, both years. You're getting paid a whopping $100 a year. And I asked Mike Moffat, I said, what does that break down to an hour? And he goes, about 80 cents. I mean,
I don't know. That seems high.
I was just going to say, that's high. Because of the special meetings you have and things. I think Mike was being very generous.
You have to show up to the sessions, but if you're on any committees, and some of these people are on 2 or 3 committees, right? And then you've got to come back for veto day and all of that business.
Well, I think Mike, I was on that same committee for veterans, and so it wasn't a heavy lift, and that's why I was on it, because I wanted to be able to go to testify for the other committees. So that gives you that opportunity, and that's important, to be able to do that. I have a question that's a little off base, but maybe you can help out with this. We have talked about this for quite a while. Why is it that we do so well in the state of New Hampshire, but we can't get anybody into Congress?
Well,
I have some ideas, but how do you see it?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons that kind of get into this. So, I think people pay attention to the congressional races and Senate races and even the gubernatorial race a lot more than they do state Senate, state rep. I mean, if I was to go into any old home day anywhere and say, who are your 2 or 1 representatives, 90 out of 95 are not going to be able to tell you. So it tends to be, if you're a Republican, you just vote Republican. If you're a Democrat, you just vote Democrat. And I don't know what the independents do. They figure out some way of voting. But when it comes to these national races, I think people pay a little bit more attention. I think they're a little bit more aware of who the people are, what their platforms are, and whether these people can resonate or not. But we have a habit, I think, of nominating a lot of really, really good people who, I don't want to offend them anyway.
No, I know what you're going to say.
But they're not necessarily able to do the things that you need to do as a candidate to be successful. And
let's talk about that a little.
Well, I think, what does it take to be successful? I'm just retired as a business professor. So when I teach my entrepreneurship class, I say, well, if you're going to start a business, you need 3 basic things. You need to be viable, you need to be scalable, and you need to be investable. And the same thing, I think, is true of our candidates. You've got to be those 3 things. What does viable mean? Well, it means that you have to have a personality, a message that allows you to do the other 2 things. If you don't have that, it was Hugh Gregg, I think, that said, 80% of politics is being likable.
Right.
And if you're not and Donald Trump is the exception to everything I'm going to talk about tonight, right? I mean, in terms of some of that stuff. But once you're viable, once you have a good message, once you have kind of your act together and what to do, now you can scale it up. And that's where you need to be able to raise money. And to be a successful congressional candidate, you've got to raise $3 to $5 million or have somebody be willing to spend that on your behalf. I mean, that's just the number.
Yeah.
And I was talking to some people the other day, and they were like, well, in order to get to $3 to $5 million, you've got to be willing to put up $100,000 probably of your own. So again, we're really narrowing the pool of people that can do that. What's been the average amount of money that we've raised, our congressional candidates have raised? You look back over the last 15 years, maybe they raised $500,000, if that. So we're just not meeting that standard. So we're lacking on that scalability part, and as a result of that, you don't get the investability.
Right.
And it's really not a kind of a sequential thing. It's more of a Venn diagram, because then it comes back to viability. If you can't be scalable or investable, you're not going to be in the long run viable. You might be initially, but you're not going to meet that later task.
Yeah, and then when you have more people running, that money even gets diluted even more.
Well, and I think the primary really hurts us where it is at the moment.
And we're going to move it.
And it's going to be better.
Yeah.
But if I'm an investor, or if I'm a candidate for those seats, I got to go up to you and say, hey, please, I need $10,000 or $100,000 of seed money, because that's going to get me that scalability. And you're going to say, but you're running against 6 other guys. Why would I do that?
Right.
And that's, I think, and it works great for the incumbents who have access to tons of money.
Right.
I mean, when we're in control, all right, let's keep it in September. But it's harder for us to overcome that hurdle at this point. And like I said, we've run some really, really good candidates, but they're not raising money that they need to be successful. I mean, you think about Maggie Goodlander, she's got, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 million in the bank now.
Right now. Yeah.
And if she ever runs out of money, she can call up her husband and say, hey, listen, can you find me another 10 million? And Jake's going to find somebody that's going to write a check for her.
Yeah.
It makes it tough. But I think moving it back to June is going to level that playing field a little bit more. Getting back to that recruitment, now, the election's going to happen, and I'm going to be like, all right, you haven't even been sworn in yet, but are you running next time?
Right.
Right. So it does create that problem. But I think in the long run, it'll be better for our candidates to really know what they're doing and be able to get out there. So I think that's going to be good for them. But I think the other thing I would say, and we were talking about it before the show went on, I think, and some people disagree with me, and you're welcome to, and I'm happy to have this debate. I think the average Republican in New Hampshire is not quite as conservative as they were, say, in 1980. I think the influx of Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Vermont, New York Republicans, they're just more moderate than we are. And I don't know that the candidates we've been nominating profile well with them.
So they're not, it's hard for them to get elected, because we, that have been around and are conservatives, old school conservatives, may not, because they're too moderate in some areas, we may not want to vote for them.
In the primary.
In the primary, right, exactly. And so what we end up doing is we might get our person that we like that's conservative to win the primary, and then get crushed later because all these other people aren't going to vote for him.
And you think about it, and we've kind of seen that play out a little bit, because both Kelly Ayotte and Chris Sununu are a little more moderate than some of the congressional and Senate candidates we've been running the last number of cycles. Yeah. But, again, and I hope that's not true. I hope that we can kind of overcome that and continue to find really good candidates that want to do it. Running for Congress or the United States Senate, it's not for the faint of heart. It's a big sacrifice on your families. It's a big sacrifice on you. If you're working, consulting, whatever you're doing, those jobs stop during the campaign. And at least it should.
That's right. So we had a list of committees that you're on.
Well, so I as county committee, I oversee all the town committees within
It's
that.
like a regional
Right.
person.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I am trying to help Jimmy and Holly at the state level, and we're trying to. I just got back from an RNC training down in Rhode Island last week, where we were talking about how do we be better county chairs, how do we elect more Republicans, and how do we become a more professional organization? And that's been a big push for the RNC to try and up our game a little bit. I mean, we know we're going to get out fundraised a little bit by the Democrats, but I don't know that that has to be true, but it traditionally has been. Oftentimes we get out volunteered by them as well.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yep.
so
Volunteered or paid?
well, but those two things, I mean, you think about it, if they're out raising us 10 to 1, they have the money to go hire
More people.
more
are coming.
people.
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
I would love to, I mean, believe me, I wish I had $100,000, I'd hire all sorts of kids to go do stuff.
Right.
But
Right.
we don't do that. But so the money thing, I mean, years ago I had a member who was really upset because she said, you're fundraising all the time. You have to. It's if you want to be on TV, if you want to be
On our show.
Shh, we're not supposed to talk about. I mean,
Are you taking money?
No, that's
Because I'm not getting paid. Are you getting paid
you
by
can
our
have
guests?
you can have half of what I make.
but I mean, we have to raise significant amounts of money if we
Yeah.
want. I mean, even if we don't want to hire these door knocker, I mean, just to have staff down at the state headquarters. I mean, one of the things that Andrew's been working on the last couple months is this grassroots giver program where people can give $10, $20, $30, $50 a month. And certainly I encourage anybody that's listening out there, this is money that's going to be used to support the state party so that when we do a major fundraising event, every single dollar can go out to support our candidates, run advertisements, whatever needs to be done to make sure those candidates are in the best position to win. But you know, it costs money to run the state party. There's overhead. There's right now not a lot of staff, but we want to ramp that up.
Yeah, and you're hoping that the national committee sends some people down.
And
to
traditionally they
support you.
have.
Yeah, and I would think, we talked about this once, you can go to Mass and convince some of those people to come up here because they're not going to win down there and they know it. So there is that opportunity if you have a connection down there.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know who the chairs are down there any longer, but at one time they would, they would help. They'd come up and hold signs, or they would make phone calls for you. You know,
Well,
that was
even
always
some of the
great.
donors are
Doing that.
as well.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're kind of the donut hole in New England. I mean, but I tell people we're really one election away from losing everything, the good that we've done the last 6, 8 years, maybe almost 10 now since kind of Sununu took over. Other than that year, we were kind of in the minority. I mean, we've done a lot of great bills. We've pushed forward a lot of good things. But we saw this when Joe Biden took over. You know, in 48 hours, there was 100, executive orders that basically, with the stroke of a pen, everything good that President Trump had done was gone. And the same thing can happen here in the legislature if we don't hold the corner office in both houses. It gets ugly quick. I felt bad for Howard Pearl when he was in the House. I'm like, can you even read the N on your N button anymore because
No,
you
I was
pressed it
there
so
then.
much?
That's
Were you
when I
there
was
then?
there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
wore out the-
it's worn out,
Yeah.
and that's just not. I don't feel sorry for them because they did, but I think we're in a really great opportunity right now. You look at 26, and 26 is traditionally not going to be a good election for us. I mean, the headwinds are against us. But they're not just shooting themselves in the foot lately. I mean, they're really going at it. And when you talk about a national 15 or 17% approval rating, and you're electing a communist, I mean, let's call it what it is in New York, and and these people are starting to get behind him.
Yeah.
I think this is an opportunity for us to set them back for a generation if we play our cards right.
That would be
How do
great.
you think that's gonna affect the mood, the elections, nationally? Because over the last few weeks, we've been focused on this literal communist who won the Democrat primary for mayor in New York. And we're all watching that, and I know I'm watching it, and I'm like, New York falls, and that's the first domino.
Yeah.
Right. That's
Well, let's be honest. I mean,
But then you get people like Chris Cuomo coming out and saying, "Yeah, I'm not supporting him. I'm supporting whoever the Republican candidate is." And Chris Cuomo comes out and he has good things to say about Trump. Like hell is freezing over here over in New York City, and if this communist wins with all of these traditional, very liberal Democrats up against him, right, who are saying that they're not voting for this man, right? I just feel like that I think there's something going on in New York that I think is going to reverberate through the rest of the country. Do you think that's going to affect the way Democrats in this state think?
It's hard to say how it translates, right? Because here, certainly we have some people running for office that are in that progressive side of the Democrat wing. But I think when you think about the Republican version of that, I don't know that it's a large number, 10, 15%, if that. So does that, they're thrilled, right? Because they're finally getting their progressive agenda. But I think even the Democrats here tend to be maybe a little more moderate in terms of that. I don't know that that's going to play. But our job as Republicans is to say this may not be who they are today, but it wasn't who they were in New York 5 years ago.
Right.
Yes.
Well, that's the reverberation that I'm talking about.
And that's the message, is that
Good point.
the wolf's at the door. And what did Reagan talk about? We're just one generation away from losing it all. And this is kind of that moment where we have to, as Republicans, really stand up and say what Reagan said so well. And it's hard because there was a guy from the RNC once that said, we need to stop talking about Ronald Reagan. He said, because this generation of people don't know who he is. And that's a fair criticism. But I think it's time we need to introduce this generation to what Ronald Reagan stood for and what he fought throughout his whole life for, because that's exactly what we're seeing in New York. It's not over in Eastern Europe anymore.
Right.
It's 300 miles to our south.
Yeah.
If you've watched any of Reagan's speeches, and I remember I watched darn near every single speech he ever gave from the time he got into office until the time he left. So I watched them live as they were taking place, but I've seen videos, reruns of some of the things that he's had to say, and they work today, right? Even there's a moment in when he was still governor of California, where he made some notes, and he said he basically said, no, we're not doing that. We're holding criminals responsible for their activities, and we're not going to push the blame off onto society. We're not, and he was called, his nickname was the Great Communicator, because he knew how to say these things in a way that everybody understood. That's why when you look at the election map for him on his, Mondale won one state, his home
Barely.
state,
Yeah,
right?
barely.
And the rest of the map was 100% red.
Yeah.
And that was
It would behoove, if a politician just got up and just regurgitated word for word a Reagan speech, right?
Yeah.
And said so up front. Hey, I'm going to steal this from Ronald Reagan, and let's see how it plays today.
Yeah.
right, in front of a millennial crowd, right?
Yeah.
Because we're at 2025. That means somebody born in 2000, right? 20 years after Reagan was first elected president, somebody born in 2000 and has no idea who Reagan is 26 years old and has already voted in two presidential elections. If that person were made to sit and listen to an entire Reagan speech given by a current politician, I think that would reverberate.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, you know, if you ever get a chance, and your audience, I would encourage them, go on YouTube and just watch some of his old, you forget how good he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how his messages always resonated just so well with everybody. And he's funny too. The stories he tells at the beginning, well, this reminds me of a story, and everybody starts laughing because they know it's coming.
He has
You know
some
it's
good
coming,
ones.
yeah.
You know, the one about a Republican giving a speech from a Democratic platform.
Yes.
I love that one.
Yeah.
You'll have to look it up yourself.
Yeah, it's very good. But I mean, you look at that debate line. I mean, you think about Joe Biden for a second, and the difference between Reagan's second debate against Mondale, and his first debate was not good, nowhere near where Biden was. But I mean, his first debate was not particularly good, and he came back out and he had that famous line: "I am not, for political purposes, going to exploit my opponent's youth and inexperience."
Right, exactly.
And you look at, and if you ever watch that video, look at Mondale's face, because he's looking at you and he's like, "I am so done." and he was. I mean, and from that point, the polls all plummeted, and he never had a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know, looking at politicians across the country, anyone, J.D. Vance looks like he's making some headway. People are starting to like him a little bit more from that end. I don't know who we have. We have a better bench, certainly, than the Democrats.
Oh, 100%.
But who do we gear in on? I don't know how that's going to roll out, but it's a guess, right, at this point.
I mean, the thing we
can't.
do is we don't have a coronation. So
Right.
J.D. Vance certainly going to be the front runner.
Yep.
I mean, no question. I mean, he's the sitting vice president.
Exactly.
Assuming he wants it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm assuming he will. But, I mean, we've got people like Ron DeSantis.
Yep.
We've got people, Nikki Haley. We have
We have good
Sarah Huckabee
people.
Sanders. We
Yeah,
have
exactly.
Tom Cotton. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's a
lot.
big
We have a
group, right.
lot of people who are eminently qualified. And Marco Rubio. I mean,
Yep.
his star has risen tremendously in the last
Yep.
6 months.
Absolutely.
And
I would put Marco right there I would do Vance, and Marco is very close second
Yeah.
in my mind. Marco is, he's a rock star.
yeah, I mean, he was actually who I supported in 2016.
Yeah.
I kind of
He did a lot in the state. I've been.
He
at several
did,
places
and
with him.
we had a chance to talk, and I
Yep.
just was super, and I'm so impressed with. It just wasn't his time, and
Yeah.
and Trump was like a wrecking ball through that
Yeah.
group of candidates.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we need, another wrecking ball.
We do.
Well, it's easy if you can say, and that's why incumbency is so powerful. If you've got an incumbent president, it's easy for everybody to say, look, he's our guy, we're going to get behind. I mean, that's what really ended the Democrats, was the guy they had to get behind was not the guy they could get behind.
Right.
It was the guy they already got behind.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but had they had a robust, more than they did, primary, where you had maybe a Buttigieg or some other people, Beto O'Rourke or somebody,
Yeah.
who was competing there, you would have seen, I think, a lot earlier that Biden wasn't up
Yeah,
to the
Gavin
task.
Newsom. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
The mayor of Maryland, the city of Baltimore. Rather.
Yeah.
He's a pretty sharp guy, and
Well, I don't worry about New. I mean, I saw what DeSantis and DeSantis. I love DeSantis. He's a great guy, but he's not the best debater we have. But he's good, but he's not the best. And he demolished Newsom. I mean, which gives me great hope that if that's the best they've got, then we're going to be in good shape. But
so getting back
it's
to
early.
the local stuff, we're still a little way away from that, but we're not that far away from the next election here.
No.
And in the off years, if it's not presidential, turnout is always questionable. And I don't know how to, I can say that I've tried to drive that several ways. Get out the vote was more important sometimes than, getting the right people in.
100%. Well, I mean, obviously you need people that can generate interest, and that's important.
Yep.
But what we've seen, observed, and if there are any Trump people watching this message is for you.
I'm sure there are.
The Trump people generally have not come out in midterm elections. If Trump's name's not been on the ballot, they don't show up.
I honestly think that the only reason that real conservatives don't come out for the midterms is, or for the off years, is we have jobs.
100, but here's the thing.
I mean, there's an element to that I think I know it's a joke, and I know it's, but I think there's an element to that, is that we value that time with work and family, and we're not watching TV, we're not seeing all the ads, we're not, and you're not paying attention, and at the same time, the Republican Party is not putting as much money and effort into that midterm as they should be. The same, because you can't tell me that you don't put more effort, that even the committees and don't put more effort into the on years, the presidential year elections than they do on the others. If you were putting that same effort in every single year, because we have an election every year, there's a town vote every single year, and people don't show up. The only people that do show up are the Democrats, and they're putting a lot of effort into getting the vote out. And I don't think we're putting a lot of effort into that. And when you don't put a lot of effort into that, people are working and they go, oh, today's election day? Oh, it's Tuesday? Oh, I've already got 1,000 appointments and I have to work late tonight, so I'm going to miss it.
Yeah.
Right? These things, people don't think about election day. And one of the reasons they don't think about it is because they're working hard. The Republican Party is the blue-collar party, and they can't just drop everything and go to the polls. They're greasy. They're underneath a car. They're in the farming fields. And at the same time, the committees aren't putting as much effort into that. The vote, I don't think.
Well, for the midterm elections, because we have 400 House people we're electing and 24 state senators, 5 executive counselors, and a governor, the midterm elections are very, very important for us. And at the county level, at least, we try to put in as much effort on those as we do the others. It's harder to generate interest. There certainly isn't the money available that there is in the presidential years.
But the Democrats have that money.
But
that's kind of the difference.
Yeah, 100%. So one of the things we've tried to do, because there's a lot of points you made there. So on the local elections,
I ramble. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. On the local elections, we're trying to do a better job for the school and for the select board and budget committees. We're trying to do a better job. It's harder because, again, now statewide you're dealing with 260 towns. So it's a little bit harder to do that than 24 Senate seats or something like that. So, but we are trying to, so right now we're already starting to try and recruit candidates for those March elections. Because it's going to be here before I can't believe July's gone, right?
I know.
So we're already starting to work towards that. We're always trying to raise money. It's been more challenging this cycle to raise money, hold fundraisers, get speakers coming into the state.
Sure.
And we're hoping that shakes loose here very soon. But so that's one thing. The getting out the vote thing is what I want to impress upon the Trump people is that if you want Trump to have 4 years and not 2, then you need to get out and vote and make sure that we're electing our congressional candidates and our Senate candidate, because that's the best way you can support Donald Trump in this election, and it is as important as electing him in the first place. Otherwise, he's a lame duck the day after that election, and nothing is going to get done. And heaven help us if we lose the House because it'll be 2 years of impeachment nonsense. So that's.
But he's right, though.
But
They're going to come up with a new impeachment charge every single day of the week.
Pretty much.
We're going to.
Pretty much.
It's literally okay. What's the charge today?
But we have an opportunity to have a generational change in how we govern in both in Washington and here in Concord, and every vote counts. And
Yeah.
the one good thing that the president's done a lot of good things, but one of the good things he's done is he really, I think, has taken some of the stigma out of Republicans voting absentee. And so we made a concerted effort to get people to vote. If you can't be there on Election Day, and I'm a big proponent of making Election Day a national or state holiday or whatever it takes.
Oh yeah, then everybody knows.
That would be-
right? You
yeah.
don't forget it.
Yeah.
It's your day off for
to
a
me-
reason.
And I like elections on one day. I don't want
Yes.
election month.
Right.
You know, but
Yeah.
but we've managed. We were really active in getting absentee ballots out to people. If you can't be there, you can't guarantee you're there. Fill out the absentee ballot application. We're different in New Hampshire. We don't hand them ballots, we hand them the application. They still have to mail it to their town clerk or go in there in
Yeah, go in
person,
and sign it in person.
and be able to do that.
Yeah.
So
And it's not hard. I mean,
no, it's not.
very easy.
And you know, you think we get maybe 80% of the turnout in an off year that you do in a presidential. If we can get a more presidential-like turnout in this midterm election, we win both congressional seats. We win the Senate seat by a lot. And you're right. The Democrats just are better at raising money at us. They're better at motivating their people, and you know, there's many reasons why maybe that's the case. But as far as I'm concerned, those are excuses. Let's stop making excuses for why we're not voting in these elections, and get it done. If you have an R after your name, that's really your only job. I ask nothing else of you if you have an R after your name to vote. Now, I'm not above asking you for money and volunteering and all that, but I mean, that's your job. If you're a registered, and by the way, why wouldn't you vote if you take the time to register? If you believe in the party and the principles that R stands for, why wouldn't you vote? And I'll take it one step further. Why wouldn't you invest in the party and in your candidates financially? Why wouldn't you vote? I mean, even if it's just posting on Facebook or writing a letter to the editor about your candidate. If you want people to win, then you got to do you know, and I get it. People are busy. Trust me, I get it. But
I mean, there have been times. I mean, I'm guilty of it too, where I forget. Oh, it's
happened
town
to me.
election day, right?
School district election 2 years ago. I completely spaced it.
Well, I think, you know, you bring up a good point. And I've voted this way several times, absentee ballot. When I was working in Boston, I would have to leave too early before the polls open, and I would never get back in time to vote. So I would take an absentee ballot, and for other reasons,
the only issue,
now I do.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The only issue with an absentee ballot is a lot of people don't know, right? You have to think about it ahead of time,
Yeah.
right? On election day, I can't do an absentee ballot, right? I have to have set that up weeks in advance.
Well, and that's
Yes.
yeah.
And some people have responsibilities that don't allow them to project like that. So
Well, and that's where, you know, thinking about, and I care about the primaries, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But I care more about the general elections. I care more about the town elections. So what we need to do a better job of, to be frank, is making sure that when we start getting to this time next year, and certainly after the September, so going in September and October, we're really focusing on, can we get you to commit to vote? And if you can't commit to vote, then can we get an absentee ballot application in your hand? And you just need to fill this out, and we can even give them stamped self-addressed
Sure.
envelopes to send in,
Sure.
so that they can get that done. And if they want to vote in person, they can vote in person. But I mean, there are states that have severe election integrity issues. We have some challenges here, no doubt, but it's nothing like what you see in some other states.
Right.
Generally, I believe if you cast an absentee ballot, that it's going to be counted. It's going to be counted accurately. I've watched them when I was standing in line. I was taking my dad to vote one time, and the moderator came out and said, "I am casting 3 absentee ballots for X, Y, and Z." And you could see, and everybody was kind of like watching that whole process, and you could see the clerks crossing off the names.
Yeah.
It's not ideal. We would rather you show up, but we can't go into election day being down, 10,000 votes and hope to catch up. And this last election, we did a good job. We won in some places on the absentee ballots even, but we certainly leveled that playing field. And I think you saw the results with 223 or whatever the final, or 219, whatever the final
Well, you
number
saw the
was.
results in the Senate. You saw the results in the EC. I mean,
Yeah.
the committees did a great job, and
We just need to figure out how to repeat that in the off years.
Yeah,
I'd like to see it repeated in my town elections because my taxes are going through the roof.
yeah,
yeah. Well,
we're all in that. Yeah.
Well, and you think about it. I mean, my town meeting, 110 people show up.
Exactly.
That's more than shows up in my town.
But it's a town of, I don't know, just shy of 4,000.
Yeah, we have like I think we're up to 1,300 now, and if you get 60 to show up, that's a big crowd.
Well, and
it's
if there's
incredible for the town meetings. I mean, it's nuts.
And if there's a particular issue, one way or the other, then those are the people that show up.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
The people that show up to the school district meetings, it's the parents, it's the teacher folks, their friends, their family.
Yep.
And we did a great job this time. We had some folks from Loudon that really did a great job rolling back their town budget. They helped roll back the school district budget. And
How about those people in my town?
well, I mean, there's a few people that are organizing that to make it happen, and that's really what it takes. Is we have part of what I'm trying to help in my own county, and I want to help at the state party level as well. Is that I want like 6 people in every town that I can count on, that I can call up and say, JP, can you do X, Y, and Z for me?
Right.
And you're going, I know the other 5 people, I'm going to get on it, and it'll get done.
Right.
If we had, I mean, I love 20, but I'll settle for 5 or 6 right now. If we could get 5 or 6 people in every single town that are willing to do that, we'll change the world. We really will. I mean, the 20, you think about it, you need probably half a dozen to hold signs for folks.
Yep.
Because, I mean, you think about our poor county people, they got to cover 26 towns. They can't be in all 26 places.
Right.
Poor Alvin C. is a representative in the Floterial, and he's got more towns than some of the state Senate districts. You can't, and he's like, well, I'm going to hit all the towns. I said, why are you driving between towns? Pick the one where you can make the biggest difference and stay there. Win. Because other than that, you're going to drive for 5 hours and you're not talking to anybody.
Exactly.
But if I have people helping hold his signs and talking to voters at the polls, that's great. If I need 6 people to do that, I need 6 people or so to do election integrity. I need another 6 to help get out the vote, making phone calls that day.
Yeah.
Did you return chasing down absentee ballots?
Those are the things that happen.
Yeah, you need those 20 people in every town to be able to do that.
So we should have you go speak at all the towns that we're struggling in, and to do that. I mean, honestly, what you're doing is what everyone should be doing, and I don't think that's happening now. I know in the past we would hope that would happen, but it wasn't that well organized. What I'm hearing from you is it sounds like you've got, you've been around a while now, but you've got your act together, you're passionate about what you're doing, and I would hope that there are some other passionate people watching, because we have, to your point, we could change everything on this next election.
Yeah, well, and this could, I don't want to use the nail in the coffin kind of thing, but I mean, like I say, the Democrats are so disorganized nationally, we can set ourselves up for a generation if we do it right.
Yep.
But you're right, it takes a small group of people, and that's what's happening in Loudon. There's a small group of super dedicated people. Yeah. They're not necessarily state party kinds of people, but they're passionate about taxes, they're passionate about their children's education, they're passionate about making their town a better place. and some of them are independents, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But we need that. We need to do that, and you're right. It's a lot of coordination, and that's why I need those leaders in each town.
Yes.
To kind of be, a town captain or a town. I'll give anybody any title they want. I really do. You want to be the Grand Poobah of Boscawen? I'll put a certificate together with a felt hat and the horns coming out on it, and you can have that. I mean, I don't care, but whatever you want to call yourself is fine with me. But if you're willing to do the work, and there is a book, and I forget who the author was, but he talked about it being the one thing, and it came off of that movie. With Billy Crystal.
City Slickers.
City Slickers.
City Slickers,
and the guy says, what's your one thing? And that's kind of what I talk to people about. What is the one thing you can do to help the party? Now, again, we talk, voting is certainly the one thing for most people, and that's fine. But can you do one thing? Can you write a letter to editor once a month?
Yep.
Can you post something on social media once a week? I don't need people to spend 20, 30 hours a week. I mean, I do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes more.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't need people to do that. That's a heavy lift for most people. Because you're right, they're working. They have lives. They have families. I have a life and a family too. But my wife's watching this and she's like, yeah. And when are we going on vacation? But it's the sort of thing that if everybody would put in literally 2 or 3 hours a month, outside of going to a committee meeting or something like that. You put in 2 or 3 hours a month writing letters to the editor, doing that thing. We'll change the world.
So we don't want to cut you short. This flew by the way.
It did.
But why don't you tell the people? Here's your chance to plug your fundraiser and what you're trying to do, and how to reach you.
Oh, sure.
So face the camera.
So, all right. Well, thank you all for listening tonight. I appreciate being here. You can always reach me, smaltzy@comcast.net. Happy to, I get 500 emails a day now, so a few more isn't going to matter, right? But happy to try and answer your question. If you're interested in volunteering, if you're interested in doing something to help, whether it's your local town committee or wherever, reach out to me. We'll get you plugged in. We need a lot more volunteers for sure. The big event we have coming up is every year we do a wine and appetizer event. We've been doing that up at the Gilmanton Winery the last few years, but we're changing venues, but it's still the same great event where we've invited all the major candidates, and most of them, I think, have committed to coming at this point. But on August 22nd at 6 o'clock at the Black Bear Winery is our annual wine and appetizer event. And you can expect most of the congressional and Senate candidates. The governor's been invited, so we're hoping that they all show up and they get to speak for a few minutes and then get a chance to mingle with you, take pictures, and you get a flight of wine for it, $75, but there's wine, appetizers, and they actually have a chocolate raspberry wine. My wife, I can
go
probably
good
talk
on
to them.
ice cream.
They have some really unusual wines. It's very, very good, and Ted does a great job up there. So if you're interested in that, our website is MerrimackCountyGOP.com, MerrimackCountyGOP.com, and we're going to. I don't have it posted right this second, but before the weekend we'll have the link so you can go ahead and buy your tickets. And we only sell about 110 tickets, so buy early, buy often.
All right. Well, thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
And we'll see you next week with candidate for mayor of Laconia, Mike Bordas.
That's a big, big seat.